Nairobi for what promises to be a historic chapter in our ongoing partnership with the African Development Bank Group, the African region, and the world at large. So karibu Kenya, welcome to Kenya. Asante sana, thank you very much.
Mizimu imesema, atakayekuwa kiongozi ni yule pete itamchagua.
Bahari imechafuka. Mrithi wangu ni yule atakayeniletea vuo la kuoga.
Sasa na hili vuo, wachana nalo, wakati wake umepita.
Pete hii ni ishara ya utawala.
Huu uongozi tusimwachie Jasiri.
Kwa nini uongozi usimwendee Jasiri? Na wauliza nyinyi, Jasiri ana nini?
Ukiva hakuna atakayekusumbua.
For 60 years, the African Development Bank Group has played an integral part in Africa's socio-economic transformation. From the 27th to the 31st of May 2024, the African Development Bank Group will host its 2024 annual meetings at the Kenyatta International Convention Center in Nairobi, Kenya. This year's theme will be Africa's Transformation, the African Development Bank Group and Reform of the Global Financial Architecture. The high-level meetings will be hosted by the President of Kenya, His Excellency Honorable Dr. William Ruto, and the President of the African Development Bank Group, Akinwumi Adesina, and will convene African leaders, development partners, private sector actors, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders. This event will be live on KBC Channel 1.
Watch the Mozartbet Cup as teams from both the top tier and lower tier battle for the ultimate prize of representing the country in Africa's CAF Confederations Cup. Catch all the action live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, beginning with a round of 16 matches, the quarter-final, semi-final, and the final. Mozartbet Cup, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Nilianza kuendesha boda miaka michache iliyopita. Wakati huo nilifikiria siwezi kushindwa. Lakini siku moja nilikuwa hospitalini kwa miezi 3. Kosa moja karibu liondoe kila kitu. Mwaka moja baada ya kutoka hospitalini, nilihudhuria mafunzo ya jinsi ya kuendesha boda kwa usalama. Siku hizi niko makini zaidi barabarani. Wateja wangu wanaenjoy. Kumbuka, usalama kwanza. Boda ni life, lakini life si kitu bila usalama. Zingatia kanuni za trafiki. Hakikisha unavaa helmet na reflector jacket wakati wote.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
It's 9 p.m. East African time from wherever you're watching us. This is Prime Edition coming to you live from Broadcasting House right here in the capital city of Nairobi. Tonight, 25,000 households on riparian land within Nairobi received 10,000 shillings. That was promised by the government. The National Authority for the Campaign the National Authority for Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, to kick off nationwide crackdown aimed at enforcing regulations regarding placement of bars. All that coming up, including a live interview a little later on. We will be discussing the re-imaging of Kenya geopolitical status, the Ruto doctrine. In studio live, Dr. Mustafa Yusuf Ali. What are the missing issues around the trip that the president took to the United States of America? What does it mean for the global south? We'll be talking about all those details in a bit. But first things first, the executive summary of our top stories tonight. And it begins right now. Over 250,000 households to be supplied with electricity after the government secures 27 billion shillings from the French Development Agency. National Housing Corporation launches multi-billion 5-year strategic plan as it celebrates its 70th anniversary. Anti-drug agency NACADA to kick off countrywide crackdown on alcohol dispensing outlets near educational institutions. There you are, warm welcome. Our sign language interpreter is Lensa Odingo. Our socials on all the media platforms at KBC Channel 1. And let's open our coverage with a lead story. The government has secured 27 billion shillings from the French Development Agency to connect 280,000 households with electricity under the Last Mile Connectivity Project. Presiding over the signing of the contracts for the project, President William Ruto said that the funds will strengthen the government's ambitious plan of achieving universal access to electricity by the year 2030. That report opens our coverage tonight.
Is the first signing?
The signing of 27 billion shilling contract at State House Nairobi is intended to ensure 280,000 households in 32 counties access electricity under the Last Mile Connectivity Project. The president said the power lines erected under this program will also transmit fiber optic cables, ensuring universal internet access.
Electricity must be an equalizer that equalizes all Kenyans, irrespective of their social status, irrespective of their financial capacity, and that is what this program is going to do.
The funds have been provided by the European Union, French Development Agency and European Investment Bank. The head of state adding that the government is working on a similar electricity connectivity program worth 22 billion shillings with the Africa Development Bank in Saudi Arabia to connect more than 270,000 customers. He noted that the government has increased electricity access from 27% in 2013 to over 76% of the population today.
By connecting millions of households to power grid, we have not only illuminated homes, but also empowered communities, enhanced education opportunities, improved health services, and turned the entire country into one flourishing economic hub.
European Union Ambassador to Kenya Henriette Geiger said the country is on track to achieving its electricity connectivity goals. Energy Cabinet Secretary David Chirchir urged contractors involved in the project to ensure that Kenyans get value for their money.
Kenya is well on track and establishes itself as a front-runner in sustainable practices on infrastructure development and green transition.
And today, we sit amongst the leading African countries at 75% access to power, customers being connected without a payment, and yet we are able to recover all that cost.
The project is expected to take 18 months. Yusuf reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission says that it will petition Parliament to have counties named along ethnic lines renamed. NCIC Chairperson Samuel Kobia says that that's one among many raft of measures that it's putting in place to solve the county boundaries disputes that he says have largely remained a source of ethnic clashes. Kam Chemeza puts that story in perspective.
The National Cohesion and Integration Commission says it is important to address the root causes of Kenya's unending tribal conflict. NCIC believes that part of the problem lies in the naming of counties.
We realize that there is a problem when it comes to people, as I have said before, living in counties that have ethnic names.
This is being coached clearly in our ethnic audit, and we are using this not only in that place but all the places. You remember the chairman said that we found that the devolved units seem to be getting to entrench ethnicism.
Areas such as Sondu, a town whose location has been contended for years, have been the scene of bloody clashes.
We are happy to inform the public of our recent engagement in Sondu, where we met all the key stakeholders, including governors and members of county assemblies from both Kericho and Kisumu counties. And all this is towards the search for lasting peace.
NCIC says it will petition Parliament to end the perennial boundary conflicts.
For renaming counties that are identified by specific ethnic groups to eliminate potential discrimination along ethnic lines.
Meanwhile, the Commission is cautioning politicians against using their influence to sow disunity.
We have taken what was said in Lemuru 3 very seriously. We are investigating. We have instructed our investigation team to now look at what was said by who, so that we can take it up. Because if then it happens that there were utterances that would equal to hate speech or ethnic profiling, etc., then we will take it up.
NCIC is adamant that honest dialogue can help the country stem vices such as banditry that has been the source of pain for thousands of families.
25,000 households who had encroached on riparian land within Nairobi, Kenya, and were affected by the recent floods have been paid 10,000 shillings, one-off government support. The Ministry of Interior says that the number is out of 40,000 whose structures were within the riparian corridors and have been pulled down for safety reasons. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kindike Kithuri says that the evacuation exercise has been conducted in a humane manner and that those affected were allowed to remove their belongings, by the way, before the structures were demolished. According to the ministry, 181,000 people have been moved from the riparian land, and the exercise will extend to all parts of the country to ensure that no settlement is within 30 meters of riparian land.
Kulingana na sheria za nchi yetu ambayo inasema ya kwamba huwezi kujenga ama kufanya maendeleo yoyote ama kulima mita 30 kando ya mto. But many of us in this country have disregarded our planning laws. We have encroached on riparian reserves, and the floods today are becoming more vicious and more dangerous because of our inability to protect our riparian corridors.
And on Crime Watch, police have arrested one of their own as the main suspect in the shooting incident outside a nightclub in Kiambu Town that led to the death of one man. The firearm suspected to have been discharged, to have discharged the killer bullet, beg your pardon, has also been recovered. Tilio Marco is on the crime beat.
As the family of 35-year-old Lawrence Njomo embarks on the burial plans of their kin, shot dead outside Quicken Lounge in Kiambu town, police are holding 3 suspects, among them a police officer. Police also recovered the firearm suspected to have been used in the killing.
And we can confirm that amongst the 3 individuals, all male is a police officer, a serving police officer. Further to that, we can confirm that a firearm has also been retrieved from the officer. It is suspected that this firearm could have fired the fatal shot.
The suspects, who include Nason Kitemi and Joseph Njenga Gitau, had been taken to court, and the investigating officers filed a miscellaneous criminal application for the court to grant them 21 days to complete investigations, but were granted 10 days.
The gravity of the offense, the nature of the investigations that are conducted with reference to this nature of offense, I exercise my discretion and allow the application. However, I direct that the respondent shall only be detained for 10 days, during which period the IO should proceed and conduct his investigations. The matter shall be mentioned after the 10 days.
According to his family, the deceased, who was a civil engineer working with the American embassy, was allegedly hit by a stray bullet fired following an altercation among some revelers outside the club. The family has described the deceased as a jovial and easy to mingle.
There was some sort of a commotion now, right at the entrance of the back of the club. But he was across the road, facing away from the entrance of the club. And there was an altercation of guys who looked like they were fighting, or there was a commotion and stuff like that. And suddenly, Anthony fell.
Tilio Marco for Prime Edition.
The National Housing Corporation is expected to construct a total of 110,000 housing units of the 1 million units that the government intends to build by the year 2028. While celebrating a 70-year anniversary and launch of a 5-year strategic plan that will cost 361 billion shillings to implement, Head of Public Service Felix Koske said that government is committed to expanding the capacity of the National Housing Corporation to meet the growing demand for affordable housing. Giverson Maina was there and filed this report.
While presiding over the National Housing Corporation's 70th anniversary and the launch of its 2023-2027 strategic plan, valued at 350 billion Kenyan shillings, Head of Public Service Felix Koske said the government is keen to meet the housing needs in the country.
The government is committed to put in place enabling policy reforms to accelerate private sector involvement. These reforms include deployment of tax incentives and outright exemptions, as well as lowering financing costs.
Echoing the sentiments, Lands Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome revealed the government's plan to construct 1 million affordable housing units by the end of the financial year 2027-2028.
The role of NHC is more critical now than ever as we face challenges and opportunities presented by the growing population and rapid urbanization. The government's bottom-up economic transformation agenda underscores our commitment to addressing these challenges head-on.
70% of our urban population lives in a house that is not decent. You pay to use a toilet, they pay 172% more for water, they pay 49% more for electricity.
They, however, warned that skilled professionals in the construction industry were colluding with cartels to compromise on quality, leading to the collapse of buildings and hence endangering lives.
One may escape the dragnet now, either by luck or by design, but no one will be on the run forever.
Of the 1 million housing units intended, the Housing Corporation is set to build 110,000 units, consisting of 5,000 units of student hostels in various public universities and colleges.
I want to thank all those who went ahead of us and those who said that NHC is capable of implementing affordable housing and low-cost housing as the implementer of choice
for government programs and policies on housing.
Looks like there we are.
The corporation also unveiled a new logo to mark the beginning of a new journey towards decent homes in the country. Even as the National Housing Corporation boasted of tremendous success, the government has warned that those driving corruption in the housing sector will be dealt with in accordance with the law. Giverson Minor, Prime Edition, Nairobi.
Thank you, Giverson. Now, the Kenya Forest Service has rolled out a revamped policy strategy that aims to curb all forms of corruption in the agency. KFS says through the partnership with Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission will revise its new corruption prevention policy, whistleblowing policy, as well as the Code of Conduct and Ethics.
For us to be able to coordinate our activities, to focus our activities to efficiency, we need to do things in the right manner. And this is why these instruments that are here are very useful to this organization because they help us, first of all, standardize the way we do our things.
I think that that's quite telling of your intention and the intention of the organization to stem this cancer of corruption out of organizations that play such an important role in the protection of biodiversity.
Now, the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, is set to kick off a nationwide crackdown aimed at enforcing regulations regarding the placement of bars and other alcohol dispensing outlets in proximity to educational institutions or areas catering for individuals who are below the age of 18. Kasi Channa Masha is on that story.
In a statement, the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, said the crackdown is anchored on the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act of 2010, Section 129(1)(c), which stipulates that such establishments must be situated no less than 300 meters away from any educational institution serving individuals below the age of 18 years. The Act further states that any person who sells alcoholic drinks in prohibited locations shall pay a fine not exceeding 500,000 shillings. The directive indicated that the crackdown will be executed in collaboration with relevant national and county government agencies. Kasichana Masha, Prime Edition.
Let's go straight into the corridors of justice. The Court of Appeal has dealt a blow to Dutch beer maker Heineken East Africa and Heineken BV by upholding a decision by the High Court that directed the company to pay Maxam Limited 1.8 billion shillings for the breach of contract. A three-judge bench led by Pauline Mboya ruled that the notice of termination dated the 27th of January 2016 from Heineken East Africa to Maxam Limited was indeed unlawful, irregular and procedural, and therefore null and void. Details of this and more in the Scales of Justice segment.
In its ruling, the appellate court said, and I quote, "We affirm and uphold the award by the High Court to Maxam Limited of special damages for loss of business of 1.8 billion shillings to be paid by Heineken East Africa and Heineken BV, arising from the repudiata breach of the Kenya Distribution Agreement." In the appeal, Heineken had argued that the High Court had erroneously ruled that Maxam Limited had a legitimate expectation that their contract to supply Heineken products would not be terminated. However, Maxam Limited, through its lawyer Philip Nyachoti, argued that it stood to lose its business value if the Kenyan Distribution Agreement was terminated without compensation. Elsewhere, business lady charged with defrauding a foreign investor Jude Olabayo Veracruz of 25 million shillings in a Kemsa mosquito net supply will remain in custody until Tuesday, when the court will decide a bond or bail application.
And given that the prosecution cannot just be denied a chance to prepare, I direct that the application for bond be canvassed before the trial magistrate tomorrow. That is 28th of May, not later
The court had that Faith Mwikalindiwa used her two companies, namely Ashley Dillon Limited and Faisal Limited, to dupe the foreigner Veracruz that he would earn profit after paying the 25 million to complete part of his bargain.
I've noted the concern by the defense to the request by the prosecution to put in an affidavit later on 29th of May so that the accused person may not suffer any hardship.
Finally, 4 suspects have been charged for conspiring to steal a parcel containing 100 mobile phones worth 7 million shillings that was being transported by Fago Courier from Eldoret to Nairobi.
Kuna mtu asikii Kiingereza?
The accused were ordered to secure their release by depositing a 3 million shillings bond, each awaiting pre-trial.
I'll order that each be released on bond of Kenya 3 million plus one such surety, or in the alternative, a cash bail of 1.5 million plus one contact person. Prosecution to supply each a copy of documents to be used at the trial.
Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
What do we have for you from the counties? 12 candidates have been approved to run for the position of the Speaker in the Migori County Assembly, with the election slated for tomorrow. The vacancy arose following the successful impeachment of Charles Owino Likoa. Charles served as the 7th Speaker of the Assembly since the inception of devolution.
Charles Owino Likoa was removed from office by a majority vote of 58 out of 59 Assembly members over allegations of incompetence and failure to address corruption issues plaguing the Assembly.
Tunataka tumchague spika mwenye atajali kaunti yetu na atujali kama MCS. Tunataka spika mwenye atakuwa na uamuzi mzuri, tukifanya mambo yetu awe na sisi pamoja. Hii maendeleo ya Migori County, awe spika mwenye atatutoa na tuweke kwa kiwango cha mbele na tuwe kwa nafasi nzuri kama kaunti zingine.
Meanwhile, former Borabu MP Ben Momanyi says the Finance Bill 2024 is not citizen-friendly.
Kwa kusema kweli, hii ni budget yenye inaenda kuumiza Mkenya sana. Kwa hivyo tungesiwa sana our members of parliament, the day the bill is taken to the House and when the vote is going to be taken, we are asking our members of parliament, hiyo kitu itupiliwe mbali kwa sababu itaumiza mwananchi wa kawaida sana.
Elsewhere, Homa Bay County Commissioner Moses Leland says the construction of the 227 million shillings affordable housing project is at 75% completion as workers race against time to deliver within the project's timelines.
This project was started in February of last year, and it is expected that this project was to take 52 weeks. As it is now, the project is at about 75% in terms of completion.
The National Counter-Terrorism Center has embarked on the second round of public participation in the revised national strategy to counter violent extremism in the country.
We need to take more lessons. We need also to build on what we have achieved, the success stories, and improve on the way we deal with the issues of violent extremism as a country.
And a section of Ukambani leaders has called for a halt of the ongoing demolitions in Nairobi, saying it is causing suffering to many Kenyans.
Responsible governments, in times of crisis, they secure lands and settle their people and feed their people and take care of their people until things normalize.
Jacqueline Masharia for Prime Edition.
Well, that's a summary of what happened from the counties. Remember, later on, we have in studio Dr. Mustafa Yusuf Ali, the chairman of Horn Institute. And we're going to be looking at the topic of re-imaging Kenya, geopolitical status, the Ruto doctrine. You don't want to miss that. We're taking a short break, and when we come back, we have this and much more stories coming up. Police FC to face KCB in the Mozart Bet Cup final after seeing off AFC Leopards. And Kenyans among African countries pushing for restructuring of risk assessment model.
Nilianza kuendesha boda miaka michache iliyopita. Wakati huo nilifikiria siwezi kushindwa, lakini siku moja nilikuwa hospitalini kwa miezi 3. Kosa moja karibu liondoe kila kitu. Mwaka moja baada ya kutoka hospitalini, nilihudhuria mafunzo ya jinsi ya kuendesha boda kwa usalama. Siku hizi niko makini zaidi barabarani. Wateja wangu wanaenjoy. Kumbuka, usalama kwanza.
Boda ni life, lakini life si kitu bila usalama. Zingatia kanuni za trafiki. Hakikisha unavaa helmet na reflector jacket wakati wote.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
Kurumisha ndege. Aviator instant game. Be a daring pilot and earn by how much high you can lift the plane. The higher you fly, the higher your wind. The sky is the limit. Mozart Bet.
Mizimu imesema atakayekuwa kiongozi ni yule pete itamchagua.
Bahari imechafuka. Mrithi wangu ni yule atakayeniletea vuo la kuoga.
Sasa na hili vuo, wachana nalo, wakati wake umepita.
Pete hii ni ishara ya utawala.
Huu uongozi tusimwachie Jasiri.
Kwa nini uongozi usimwendee Jasiri? Na wauliza nyinyi, Jasiri ana nini?
Kiva, hakuna atakayekusumbua.
Technology has become a crucial part of our society. Without technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists to help us achieve the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve without it. Take on Tech looks at the advantages and downside of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m.
Welcome back, our socials at KBC Channel 1. Now, on your weekly feature tonight, the Cabinet, the focus is on Gideon Konchela. Konchela served as the Minister for Immigration and Registration of Persons in President Mwai Kibaki's administration.
Gideon Konchela studied at Kilgoris Primary School from 1959 to 1965. He then joined Narok High School in 1966 to 1970. For his A-levels, Konchela schooled from 1971 to 1972 at Nairobi School, Kenya. He then attended the Military Training College in Lanet. From 1979 to 1987, he served as a commander of Kenya Army Ordnance Corps at Kahawa. He then served as a military officer, commander, and logistics officer from 1987 to 1991 in the Department of Defense. From 1991 to 2002, Konchele served as a commander of Kenya Army Ordnance Corps at Kahawa. From the year 2003 to 2007, he served as Kilgore's Member of Parliament. From 2006 to 2007, he was appointed Minister for Immigration and Registration of Persons by President Mwai Kibaki. During his tenure, Kenya witnessed a series of significant events, one of which involved the notorious Atur brothers. The saga came to light in early 2006 when Atur Magarian and Atur Sagasyan entered the country claiming to be businessmen and management consultants. But none of that was visible as they went about town partying with abandon and allegedly breaking the law. President Kibaki appointed a commission of inquiry to establish the truth of the matter. It was under Minister Konchele's watch at the Immigration Department when the Refugees Act 2006 was enacted to deal with issues regarding refugees in the country. Previously, Kenya relied on colonial-era legislation, the Control of Alien Act, that was perceived hostile by treating refugees as bothersome and unwanted intruders. The domesticated law would change that to conform to the international conventions on the treatment of refugees. In the year 2000, Konchele joined Party of National Unity and successfully vied for Kilgore's parliamentary seat. He served as Kilgore's Member of Parliament from the year 2008 to 2013. After the 2007 debacle, where two-thirds of the Kibaki cabinet, including Vice President Mudi Awori, lost their seats, Konchele was among the only four who bounced back in the 2013 elections. He was elected on a United Republican Party ticket. Konchele would be elected MP again in 2017, but faced a petition from his perennial rival, former Cabinet Minister Julius Sonkoli. He won round one at the High Court, but lost the second round at the Court of Appeal. However, the Supreme Court upheld his election. He was born into one of the four famous families in Narok County. Others are the Ntimamas, Ntutus, and Sonkolis. In the 2022 general election, he vied for the Narok senatorial position but lost. Jackie Wambiru, The Cabinet.
Welcome to the business segment. I'm holding down the fort for the business news anchor. Kenya is among African countries that are pushing for remodeling of the global financing architect to allow African countries to get fair ratings from rating agencies. African Development Bank President Akiwumi Adesina says that fair ratings will see African countries' debt reduce and a kitty created to protect African economies from various economic and social shocks.
The African Development Bank says 22 countries are facing debt distress due to high interest rates charged on commercial loans. Kenya and other African countries are calling for a review and remodeling of risk assessments to reduce interest rates on loans advanced to African countries.
And Africa is the only continent that does not have a risk participation agreement. There is European financial stability mechanism.
Fair rating by rating agencies will save the continent 2 trillion shillings in interest charged on commercial loans that accounts for 48% of the total loans advanced to Africa.
If Africa's risks are properly and fairly estimated, that African countries will save $75 billion a year just in debt service that they have.
Speaking during the ongoing African Development Bank annual meeting, AfDB president says Africa is also asking for an increase of contingency funding from the current 4.7 trillion shillings to over 79 trillion shillings annually to protect economies from shocks.
There's a lot of discussion going on now about how to relook at the quota mechanisms and make sure that the future that is based on need, not just the amount of quota that you have.
African countries have also been encouraged to consider borrowing in their local currencies to protect their reserves and also consider increasing their domestic resource mobilization to reduce debt.
Resource mobilization is a whole family of instruments, tax instruments, and how you can optimize them. How you can actually even come up with instruments that crowd in private sector.
Benson Rioba reporting for Prime Edition.
More than a dozen heads of state and governments are expected to troop into Nairobi, Kenya for the 59th edition of the annual meeting of the African Development Bank Group. It's all systems go at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, the venue of the historic meeting. Our reporter Nduta Mokami spent the day following events at the KICC, and this is the report that she filed.
The African Development Bank Group selected Kenya as the suitable venue for hosting the 2024 annual meetings in the capital city of Nairobi from 27th to 31st May. Preparations in the capital have remained rife, with sections of roads cordoned off in order to reduce inbound traffic into the central business district area. Security has also been beefed up, with security agencies enhancing their presence inside and outside the KICC. The meetings will offer solutions in which the bank and other multilateral development banks can respond better and faster to scale up resources for the sustainable development of the continent. Representatives from top African political and financial institutions are in the country to deliberate on the bank's ability to mobilize additional resources to help address Africa's development challenges.
If you look at, for instance, when talking about the financing gap, we have to look at it nationally and also at an institutional level. As a country, I think we have a shortage of more than 60 billion shillings in terms of the agricultural underfunding. And I think as an institution, at an annual level, we are looking at a shortage of more than 10 billion Kenya shillings because we are able to revolve at least 4.5 billion shillings annually against a demand of more than 15 billion shillings.
Delegates also expressed their interest in emphasizing the need for the African continent to prioritize governance as an important instrument of economic development.
We've really identified skilled gaps in specific sectors, which is really the way we look at it. How do we invest in solutions that help Africans' youth be more competitive of the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow in sectors that are growing and in sectors that need youth to come on as employees?
The timing of this forum will provide an opportunity for leaders to discuss issues on Africa's socio-economic development geared towards changing the continent's economic status and improving living standards. Ndutamo Kami for Prime Edition.
4 state-owned sugar factories that have been struggling financially are expected to be fully revived in 3 years, courtesy of the sugar reforms being implemented. Agriculture Principal Secretary Dr. Paul Rono says that over 5 billion shillings have been disbursed to the 4 state-owned sugar factories to, among other, settle cash owed to farmers for sugarcane supplies.
The process of privatizing 5 state-owned sugarcane factories, namely Mboya, Muhoroni, Chemelil, Soni and Miwani, is still on. This is according to Agriculture Principal Secretary, who says the plan is to ensure the millers are fully revived to boost the economy of the area they operate in.
Plan which is on leasing is on course, and we'd like to request all of us to really work with government so that we can revive these 4 factories. We believe that within the next 3 years we should be in a position to make those factories profitable.
He says over 5 million shillings has so far been disbursed to 4 state-owned sugar factories for revamping their operations. Dr. Rono assured sugarcane farmers and workers that all their dues would be settled within 3 months.
On the 1.7 billion, which the government or farmers, already we have paid 1.33 billion, and we are remaining with close to 353 million, which is already planned, and within the next 1 month, we'll be seeing that one being executed to completion as promised by government.
They were speaking during the launch of Pre-Madaraka Day exhibition at Kibabi University in Bungoma County.
A message to all the participants who are coming to this trade fair is that agriculture is the backbone of our country, and we really need to go back and add value to our products.
Edna Murungi for Prime Edition.
Africa Carbon Markets Initiative Chief Executive Officer Paul Muthaura says that the current climate financing levels are insufficient to mitigate the adverse effects of climate change on key sectors such as agriculture, water resources, and public health. Here is Frederick Moki with details.
Among the Paris Agreement resolution was a call for substantial domestic and international increase in funding to meet emissions reduction targets and adaptation goals. Environmental advocates are calling for an increase in green financing to catalyze sectors like renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and ecotourism.
Carbon credits are no different. We have to have producers who are producing high-quality carbon credits with integrity and transparency. We need to have market intermediation.
Key is making sure that we're also empowering local project developers to be able to start generating solutions, generating revenue, and therefore we need to make sure that taxation is not disincentivizing people from coming to this space.
Kenya is among countries set to benefit from the Africa Development Bank's green financing kitty worth $2.2 billion to bolster carbon markets.
And what that means is we'll be able to support government in using clean cooking for school feeding program, but also private sector individuals that are into clean cooking spaces can receive extremely concessional, that's very cheap capital resources from the bank.
Initiative by the Africa Development Bank is a challenge to the government to incentivize sustainable practices and drive investments into green projects that reduce carbon emissions. Reporting for Prime Edition from Nairobi, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
A new wave of economic resilience is sweeping through Samburu County as local women embrace mushroom farming. The initiative, which is aimed at enhancing income generation and food security, comes in the wake of severe livestock losses. Why? Drought and banditry, as Felix Q narrates.
Wangari Kuru is the founder of Farmer on Fire, has been working with the local women groups, impacting them with the necessary skills for successful mushroom cultivation. She believes this initiative will empower women economically and nutritionally, with mushroom fetching up to 600 shilling per kilo in the market.
Kwanza ni ya kukula na kusaidia kuboost nutrition ya watoto, ya wanawake, ya baba, kila mtu kwenye familia, alafu kuongezea maneno ya mfuko.
Local leaders have welcomed the diversification drive.
Sisi kama wafugaji tumeng'ang'ana na mifugo sana, na pia tunashukuru mwanadada wetu amekuja kutupea another alternative source of income.
Kupanda tuna kama same katasi tunatoboa side hivi, tunamwagia tu maji sio mingi sana, lakini inabeba pesa mingi sana. Kama ikatasi kama ni kilo inaweza kupatia kama 600 kwa kilo.
Mushroom farming marks a significant step in economic diversification and resilience for the women of Samburu, offering a hope and stability in the face of ongoing challenges.
Well, you remember we told you that we have Dr. Mustafa Yusuf Ali, who's the founder and chairman of Horn Institute, and we want him to give us insights around the trip that the president made to the United States of America. There's been a lot of talk, some even around the plane that was hired to carry the president. So we just want to get his thoughts on whether we are missing something and what it means for the global south. But we're going to do that when we come back. Is that correct? All right. I'm told that we can proceed. Thank you, Dr. for finding time to just come and talk to us about this. There's so much going on around the trip. The president just returned from the U.S., and we also the list that he paraded as some of the goodies that he's come back with. But, you know, there are others who felt they were not very sure. So are we missing something from President Ruto's trip to the United States, Dr.?
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be back here. I was here 27 years ago on that seat as a news anchor.
As a news anchor. Oh yes. My God!
Now I'm happy, and thank you for the invitation to come and shed light on some of the substantive issues about the state visit by His Excellency Dr. William Ruto in the United States of America. And what I've been observing in the last week or so is that the Kenyan media, unfortunately, is missing the point. We're focusing so much on the sideshows and what would appear to be or is trivial issues of how the president traveled to the U.S. and how he's coming back, and we're missing the bigger picture. And the bigger picture here is, this is the first state visit by an African head of state in the last 16 years. And the reason as to why President William Ruto was invited on a state visit, not on a working tour like he would normally when he's going for the United Nations General Assembly in September, or this was very special. And so focusing on how a president traveled to the US rather than the substantive issues really misses the point. Whether he went on a wheelbarrow and blazoned in UDA colors or a private jet, that is besides the point. The point is this state visit, whose theme was partnerships for prosperity. Yeah. What does it entail for Kenya? And not just Kenya also, what does it entail for the global south? Yeah. The world today is experiencing what I would call a dizzying pace of realignments, the geopolitical shifts that we are seeing today. Today, the international institutions and multilateral processes are deeply distrusted. Yeah. The global south is coming up. Europe is waning in its power. China, the East, is coming up. We are moving towards a multipolar world, and therefore multipolarity is now what is going to define international relations in the world for the next decades. What does this portend for Kenya? And this is perhaps what we as scholars, the media, should be discussing. What does it mean for Kenya? And this is why we at the Horn International Institute for Strategic Studies, we are saying, let us focus. There's something perhaps big coming. Perhaps a Ruto doctrine is in formation here. He has signaled this with the state visit in the United States of America. Now he's back, we should be now discussing perhaps the making of a Ruto doctrine. Doctrines don't just happen, it takes time. It takes time. And it's guided by scholarship, is guided by practice, is guided by very sharp minds and discussions that informs the practice of the government.
Of the government. So tell me, how does the President Ruto's doctrine aim to redefine Kenya's geopolitical position, especially on the global stage, actually both at home and also on the global front?
Yeah, so at the moment there's nothing like Ruto's doctrine. Doctrines take time to emerge. Doctrines are a set of ethical ideals, principles that govern an international or rather international system relations. It's more global or regional in outlook, but it takes time. And we talk about doctrines. For example, we talk about the doctrine of containment by the U.S. I think this was by Kennan, who was a U.S. foreign policy advisor. We talk about Franklin Roosevelt's doctrine of liberal democratic internationalism post Second World War, or we talk about Woodrow Wilson's doctrine of, or rather that birthed the League of Nations. So doctrines come during such times when there's a lot of confusion in the international system, bilateral, multilateral processes in total confusion. And this is the right time. Perhaps we have a president here that is very intelligent and is looking at the world and has been talking about inclusive prosperity. And that seems to be falling into place after talking about, or getting rid of or diminishing the class relations that we have in this country through the hustler. I don't like particularly that word hustler politics, but it's about class, different classes, inclusivity in a country. And he seems to be taking this now to the global stage where he's talking about inclusive prosperity for the global south and for the global north, that both can actually prosper together, rather than the zero-sum game of politics that we keep on seeing being put down on us by the West.
Okay, let's just take a short break there so that we pay our bills. And when we come back, I'll be asking you, should the Congress approve the non-NATO ally status? What are some of the risks that we should be expecting? So all that thought when we come back after the short break.
For 60 years, the African Development Bank Group has played an integral part in Africa's socio-economic transformation. From the 27th to the 31st of May 2024, the African Development Bank Group will host its 2024 annual meetings at the Kenyatta International Convention Center in Nairobi, Kenya. This year's theme will be Africa's Transformation, the African Development Bank Group, and Reform of the Global Financial Architecture. The high-level meetings will be hosted by the President of Kenya, His Excellency Honorable Dr. William Ruto, and the President of the African Development Bank Group, Akinwumi Adesina, and will convene African leaders, development partners, private sector actors, civil society organizations, youth, among other stakeholders. This event will be live on KBC Channel 1.
Asanteni sana kwa kuwezesha Loto Moto kuwafikia wengi wasiojiweza kupitia star 570 hash. Hapo umewafuta wengi machozi, umewaelimisha, umewapa makao, umewapa lishe na umewapa matibabu kwa namna tofauti. Asanteni.
Asanteni. Asanteni sana.
Na kwako wewe mchezaji wa Loto Moto, unajipa fursa ya kujishindia Probox nayo. Na kama Probox haikufai na umejishindia, tunakupa taslim 750,000 Kenyan shillings na mshindi namtangaza 30th of June. Na mwezi wa July 28th namtangaza mshindi wa Demio nayo. Na kama utaki na umeshinda, wacha gari, chukua chapa 750,000 Kenyan shillings kwenye star 570 hash. Wewe si mshindi tu, wewe ni tegemeo kubwa. Tusaidie na tushinde!
Welcome back. We were reflecting on the President's trip to the United States. And with me in studio is Dr. Mustafa Yusuf Ali. He was laying the foundation for the point on what it means for the Global South. So you can build on that and also tell us, should the Congress approve? There was the question of the non-NATO ally status. Should the Congress approve that? What are the risks and what are the challenges that the country may face?
So the designation of a major non-NATO ally that Kenya is going to get after Congress approves that designation, it's largely a symbolic designation. There are some benefits to that, but there are also a lot of challenges that will come to that. Let me just start with a few of the benefits and then I go to the challenges. A few of the benefits include that Kenya can access R&D, that's research and development, into the security weapons of the United States of America. But that's not for free. Kenya will have to pay for that.
Comes at a cost.
It comes at a cost. Kenya can access loans to develop its own military security industrial complex. Again, that comes at a cost. It's not free. Kenyans can be trained, particularly from the KDF, can be trained in the United States of America. I think some of this would be in form of scholarships. So this is where there's some tangible benefits that come with an MNNA designation.
Beyond security?
There's very little actually beyond security. It's not a developmental issue. It's purely military security. And US, this is where US, and this is the thing that US wants, and we need to be very careful about this, because US can then station its military infrastructure, weapons stockpiles on Kenyan territory for its own use, not Kenya's use, for its own use in case of a major confrontation with another power.
Would that be one of the reasons why the US is tightening this bond?
So I don't know. This is a question that perhaps you should ask those who went to the United States of America and look at the security issues. I don't know about that, but this is, I suppose, and I'm assuming that this is one of the key reasons, because already there are some discussions and perhaps MOUs signed about US expanding the Manda airstrip and all that. You know, so this is to the benefit of the United States of America. But there will be some benefits to Kenya as well in terms of security, because although it's not a mutual defense pact, where if Kenya is attacked, then the US will automatically come in and defend Kenya. Now, it doesn't work like that. Some of these resources can be used by our security agencies to deter or to defend the country.
Okay, you spoke about the benefits of the non-NATO ally status. Are there any risks?
Oh yeah, there are risks. You see, when you are given that designation, you also need to understand that the risks that the US faces are also transferred to Kenya. US has many enemies.
Namely? The question of enemies, yes.
The terrorist groups that are, all over the world. And now we can see that the East, particularly Russia and China, Russia definitely because of the war in Ukraine, and we see how China is repositioning itself in this multipolar world. So some of the challenges that Kenya is going to, some of these enemies or enmity that US is going to have, naturally is being transferred to Kenya. But Kenya can rework around that. It depends on how shrewd and sharp our diplomats, negotiators are. Because what then Kenya can do is to get the best of both worlds, the West and the East. And so this is just one of the risks that is involved here. And that designation, it doesn't come for free. It's up to Kenya to make use of that designation to its own benefit.
I hear you. So finally, as we wind up, this new found, alignment, in a manner of speech with the US, when you look at the sub-Saharan belt, how does it affect the balance of power? We have Uganda, we have Tanzania, we have Burundi, Rwanda, Congo.
Yeah, Kenya is a stable, dynamic, progressive country. It is an anchor state in the region, and it is for this reason that the United States of America has chosen Kenya. The other countries are coming up and very fast, and perhaps what this does is that it makes Kenya to leap forward even faster, stronger with this newfound relationship that it is building with the United States of America. So it's a very positive thing for Kenya, and in the long run is going to catapult Kenya because it's the only sub-Saharan country in Africa that is now getting that designation of an MNNA, and it is positive for Kenya.
I thank you so much for finding time to come and talk to us. Dr. Mustafa Yusuf, Founder Chair, Horn Institute. Well, we're taking a short break. When we come back, Bernard Okoch Okumu will be getting sporty. Stay with us.
Multi-bonus. Zidisha ushindi wako hadi 1,000,000 na multi-bonus 1,000%. Kuwa mshindi. Mozartbet.
Sports News is brought to you by Mozartbet.
Glad that you're still watching Prime Edition. Time to get sporty with me, Bernard Okumu. And let's begin with football, where Police FC will face KCB in the Mozartbet Cup final after seeing off FC Leopards by 1-0 in their replayed semi-final match on Monday at Police Circle Stadium. Now, the highly charged match was abandoned Sunday in the 60th minute after an assistant referee was hit by an object hurled from the crowd.
Nakatwa, Isona Vincent Mahiga. David Okoth offside.
The replayed semi-final match, which was played behind closed doors, was closely contested as AFC Leopards trailed 1-0 at the restart. Tito Okello's lone goal before the 60th minute propelled Police FC to the final.
Ata Jafar Owiti. Jaribu kumtafuta Arthur Gitego na AFC Leopards. Piga shoot hapo bavu wanfu. Namna gani hapa Arthur Gitego?
The servicemen will now battle the bankers who booked their place in the Mozartbet Cup final after edging out Kariobangi Sharks 4-2 via post-match penalties in the other semi-final match played on Sunday at Police Circle Stadium.
Ukiangalia mechi imekuwa ngumu. Mechi ya kwanza ni mechi za siku mbili. Lakini at long last tumetoka na ushindi. Naweza pongeza FC. Wametupa upinzani mzuri, ni timu kubwa. So kwa vile kuwatoa katika semi-finali si rahisi.
Nzuri kwa sababu tulijua itakuwa ngumu, tukajaribu kusaika vijana kwa sababu tulijua watakuja sangina madharau, tunalid 1-0. So tukaambia ni game pia juu tulifunga na 7 minutes, 8 minutes, so tukaambia lazima tungangane.
En route to the semi-finals, Police FC defeated Sofapaka while KCB humbled defending champions Kakamega Homeboys. For Prime Edition, I'm Sela Onyango.
And to boxing now, where Africa light heavyweight champion Edwin Okongo lost on points to Mongolia's Ganzorik Dalai in round 32 of the ongoing second World Boxing Olympic qualifiers in Bangkok, Thailand. Now, Okongo had knocked down Mohamedou Gori of Mali in round 64 to book a spot in round of 32. Okongo now joins a compatriot Boniface Mugunde, who lost his light middleweight bout to Walsh Aiden of Ireland. Frieza Nyango will face Mili Samvik of France in the welterweight division on Wednesday, as Peter Booty awaits his opponent after he was given a bye in the preliminaries of the heavyweight division. Moving on, KPA registered they had fought 3-1 victory over Trailblazers in their third match of the quarter-final playoffs to book a slot in the semi-finals of the Kenya Volleyball Federation National League playoffs at Kasarani Indoor Arena. Now KPA joins defending champions Kenya Prisons, GSU and KDF in the semi-finals.
The Dockers KPA started strong, winning the first two sets 25-16 and 25-23 respectively.
And an error by Adams Ogwa.
Despite a setback in the third set, which the Blazers won 25-22, KPA bagged the fourth set 25-22 to seal the victory. KPA joins defending champions Kenya Prisons, GSU and KDF in the semi-finals. Defending champions Kenya Prisons qualified for the semi-finals after beating Administration Police by 3 straight sets. KDF defeated Kenya Forest Service by 3-2, while former champions GSU overcame Equity Bank by 3-1. In the women's category, reigning national champions KCB, DCI, Kenya Pipeline and Kenya Prisons qualified for the semi-finals. King Orimwangi for Prime Edition Sports.
And two meet records were shattered as Bandari and Aga Khan Academy Mombasa swimmers posted outstanding results on the final day of Coast Invitational Short Course and Relay Swimming Championship in Mombasa. In Nairobi, Kianda Girls Swim Team and Crawford International School are crowned champions in the finals of a PIPSA Invitational Swimming Championship held at Moi International School.
Rising star Maria Banchi set her second meet record in girls 14 to 15 years 100-meter backstroke of 1 minute 09.71 seconds. In the boys 12 to 13 years 200-meter breaststroke, Amy Mravech swimming for Bandari smashed Toris Progas July 31st, 2010 record of 2 minutes 56.24 seconds to lower it to 2 minutes 52.89 seconds.
And we are expecting teams from Nairobi and upcountry and also as far as from Tanzania. But a few of the things, we're promoting swimming to swimmers and also open water swimming.
Kienda's swim team was the top-ranked team in the overall girls category after bagging more than 4,000 points ahead of Crawford International School and Lukenya Dolphin, who finished in the top 3 positions. In the combined men and women's medal tally, Kienda swim team bagged a lion's share as Swimfit Classic Kisumu and Dash Dolphin team came in second and third respectively.
I am as my first one, so I was a bit afraid, but throughout the rest until now, I have a water bottle.
Meanwhile, Seahorses Aquatic Center emerged the overall winner of the Kiambu County Invitational Swimming Gala held at Wood Creek School. Seahorses bagged 29 gold, 16 silver and 12 bronze, relegating Sailfish Swim Club and Genesis Sports Limited to second and third positions respectively.
Today, the gala in Wood Creek School is very competitive. I've cut my time and I'm very proud of myself. I participated in 100 IM. I want to win more medals and enter the international.
More than 500 swimmers drawn from Nairobi, Machakos, Murang'a, Kajiado and Nakuru counties graced the gala.
And from the pools to the greens now, where Isaac Matubi emerged victorious at the Muthaiga Golf Club leg of the 2024 NCBA Golf Series. Matubi scored an impressive 36 Stableford points to win the tournament, which marked the 6th edition of the series. Now Matubi, playing off handicap 10, outshone his competitors in the highly competitive Division 1 category that featured golfers with handicaps of up to 12. Junaid Manji, a handicap 2 golfer, closely followed in second position with 35 points. Yogendra Nada clinched the men's title, while Sajni Shah won the ladies' title. The top performance of the Muthaiga leg have now secured their slots at the series finale, which will be played later on this year. The tournament attracted over 200 amateur golfers. Across the borders, where former English Premier League side Southampton beat Leeds by a goal to nil in the Championship playoff final at Wembley to return to the top-tier league. Meanwhile, Spanish giants Barcelona finished the 2023-2024 La Liga season in second place after a 2-1 win over Sevilla at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan Stadium.
Armstrong's goal is 24th goal of the season for the Saints in the 24th minute of the first half.
Armstrong low.
The loss binds Leeds to another season in the Championship and means they have now lost their past 3 finals at Wembley without scoring and have been unsuccessful in all 6 of their playoff campaigns. Both teams came into the game on the back of comprehensive second leg wins in the semi-finals. Leeds beating Norwich 4-0 and Southampton easing to a 3-1 victory over West Bromwich Albion. The win gives Russell Martin his first promotion in management. Elsewhere, Spanish giants Barcelona finished the 2023-2024 La Liga season in second place after a 2-1 win over Sevilla. Robert Lewandowski put Barcelona in the lead in the 15th minute before Youssef En-Nesyri scored an equalizer for Sevilla in the 31st minute. Fermin Lopez scored the winner for the visitors in the 59th minute. In the Italian Serie A, Empoli registered a 2-1 victory over AS Roma.
And the Dallas Mavericks moved closer to the NBA Finals after beating the Minnesota Timberwolves 116 to 107 points to go 3-0 up in their Western Conference Final Series. Now in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics lead the Indiana Pacers 3-0 with Game 4 set to be played on Tuesday morning in Indianapolis.
In double figures and has not missed a shot tonight.
Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving scored 33 points apiece as Dallas pulled away thanks to a 12-3 run in the last 3 minutes. Dallas Mavericks will advance to the finals for the first time since claiming the 2011 title if they win Game 4 in Dallas on Tuesday.
Two to fire, maneuvers inside. With a left hand.
The Timberwolves had found themselves trailing by 12 points in the first half, but an Anthony Edwards basket with 51 seconds remaining in the third quarter leveled it at 77 points.
Terrific stroke. Washington 16.
PJ Washington edged Dallas 107-104 ahead before Doncic and Ivan extended the advantage, and Daniel Gafford made big plays at both ends of the court. Gafford came back into the game after backup center Derek Lively departed in the third quarter with a strained neck, and he blocked Mike Conley's lay-up attempt with 56.7 seconds left. In the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics led the Indiana Pacers 3-0 with Game 4 taking place in Indianapolis on Tuesday morning.
Well, that's it from the sports desk. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bernard Okumu.
Sports News was brought to you by Mozart Bet.
You can lift the plane. The higher you fly, the higher your win. The sky is the limit. Mozart Bet.
Thank you, Bernardo Kumu, coach, and Lensa Odinga, our sign language interpreter. And thank you for watching Prime Edition this Monday on the day that NHC Corporation launched its multi-billion 5-year strategic plan MTP4 for the years 2023 to 2027 as it celebrated its 70th anniversary. My name is Mboya. I'll be back again tomorrow. Good night from Nairobi, Kenya.
Nilianza kuendesha boda miaka michache iliyopita. Wakati huo nilifikiria siwezi kushindwa, lakini siku moja nilikuwa hospitalini kwa miezi 3. Kosa moja karibu liondoe kila kitu. Boda ni life, lakini life si kitu bila usalama. Zingatia kanuni za trafiki. Hakikisha unavaa helmet na reflector jacket wakati wote.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
Back to the future. The future is simulate. Bet smarter. Win faster now. Be a winner. Mozart Bet.
Technology has become a crucial part of our society. Without technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists to help us achieve the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve without it. Take on Tech looks at the advantages and downside of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m.